Oh.
400 pens at home. Is there one in my purse? No.
What?
I said I have 400 pens at home. Is there one in my purse? No.
Oh,
No.
would like a pen?
I don't. just-
300 in her purse.
Okay,
Oh,
are we ready?
the other, right? You have like none or.
Okay, let's
Okay,
call
I'll-
the meeting to order. Start. Welcome, everybody here. It's our first meeting in a few months, actually. And the first thing, I want to welcome Katie, our trustee-elect. Going to sit here and absorb everything we do. With that, why don't we get going? First is public comment. As I read the new agendas, they say that public comment could be submitted by email to you. Do you have any? Okay. And we don't have anybody else for public comment in the public, so that's done. Next thing, we'll go to the next item, item 3, approval of the minutes. We're in the packet. They're of our July meeting. Does anybody have any?
Oh, I was saying, I was making a motion to accept. Sorry.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I move to accept.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, so Cammy makes the motion, Bob seconds it. Does anybody have any corrections or changes or any discussion regarding the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, okay. We got 5 of us, so we're gonna. And at this point, since we have not heard, we have to assume that, well, we know Amanda's not here, but we have to assume that not attending. Okay, that takes care of that. Next, Lynn,
Okay,
after a long and busy couple of weeks, time for the treasurer's report.
Hi, everybody. What I want to draw your attention to is what was in your packet has been updated. So you have a new set, a new treasurer's report and a new set of financial reports. And they're all dated October 19th. I think Ray, you'll know that that's the new set. Since we last met, we had a budget vote. So I wanted to, it was a successful budget vote with 85% of those voting in favor and 15% opposed. You know, as you can see from the report, we still don't have a huge turnout for our budget and trustee election, but we were very pleased with the margin by which it passed. So the budget was. I did meet with Liz, the newly recently hired business manager, each month. So even though we didn't meet, I did meet with her each month to review the financials, but we made the decision to report as one as opposed to individually by month. We also have done it entirely by off warrant for the entire 3-month period through today. So what you have, and we'll talk with you about what that would mean, because next month it'll be a little bit different. But the off warrant reflects 7 payrolls 15 through 21. There's a payroll every 2 weeks. It reflects 6 deferred comp payments. It reflects the utility expenses and health insurance costs as always. But I'm drawing your attention to several specific checks paid in the last 3 months, and we'll welcome your questions as well. The first was that 25th hour accounting. Well, I don't know, everybody read it. I made a few change on this report. If you read the last report, there were just a few minor changes in amounts. Really, it wasn't a significant difference in terms of what. So does anybody have any of what is included as the detailed expenses? So does anybody have any questions about any of the expenses on the off warrant for this 3-month period?
Just for clarification, the auditor, is that what they're considered? The auditor, so the 1,500 is just to pay for the 2020 audit,
Correct.
and then the next audit, there'll be different.
That would be in next year's budget.
Okay.
This should be the final payment for that last audit.
And at the November meeting, hearing from the auditor, had a great audit, but they'll be coming to the next meeting because there's so many things on the agenda tonight with finances. We're gonna get to that.
Any other questions about any of the expenses on the treasurer's report? If not, I will welcome, well, I guess that's what you say, Michael.
Yeah, well, you can say it.
Okay, any motion to accept the off warrant?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Right?
Somebody second it. Mary or Bob?
Second.
Who made the?
I made the,
Mary made the motion.
I'll second.
so
I just have one question. So we're saying since our last meeting, we've spent $405,621.
That is what we're saying.
That's what we're saying, okay.
Yes,
And there's no warrant for me to get approval to sign.
correct. This month. Next month, we will revert back to the normal
The normal.
operating procedure. Yeah, so, and actually just for clarity, it generally runs around 130 or 140,000 a month. The fact that we ran this today brought a new payroll in, which is what brought it up a bit. But
Yeah, 'cause-
other than that, it's really pretty much on track for what we would expect. It just is huge because it represents 3 months.
Well, your financial report. Where was it?
So there were no individual reports for each month?
I met, so I have the data for each month, but when we came to putting it together, we opted to report it as one. So I met with her each month, but we didn't report it. And some of that was just the challenge of her being brand new.
Understood.
And, so that's why in the end, we determined that this was the more reasonable way to proceed.
We'd probably be here all night if we had.
Yes, but we would have been here just with motions alone. So that's why, but it is
I
really
think that's
within the
fine.
ballpark.
Mhm.
Okay,
So we have the motion, and we have a second. Anybody have any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor? Anybody opposed? No. Carried.
great. Then I refer you to the new P&L, which is dated 10/19. The year is 77% over as of today. And income is, as we would have expected, as it has been, it's at 99.3% of, oh, I know, I was gonna say, I have mine highlighted, I get it. Gotta get these away. Okay, so income is at 99.3% of expected for the year because it reflects the fact that we've gotten our Skodak and East Greenbush. Obviously, we did that many months ago and we're spending it down, but we're at 99.3%. But I did want to draw your attention to fines went back into effect in July. And at that time, we were at 11% of budget in July. And we're now at 41.5% of budget because we have clearly been collecting fines since that took place.
Lynn, can you repeat that? I didn't hear it.
Sure. The general fines, which went back into effect on July 1, have been generating some income, because now we're at 41% of our budgeted amount, which we, if you will recall, budgeted at a low level because we weren't anticipated they would be low this year. But we have picked up greatly, because in July, we were at 11% of our budgeted level, just as we began to collect funds. So in basically the 2 weeks. And now we're at 41% of our budgeted level. So it's clearly generating a bit of income. It's up to $6,000. Interest income continues to lag, and we expect it will. It's at 17.3% of budgeted amount. Interest rates are very low. Don't expect that will significantly change, but total income is still above 99% for the year. Under our expenses, our total expenses for the year are running under budget at 69.3%. We are under budget in technologies, books and materials, and facilities. And just keep in mind that we are under budget for facilities, even though lawn and landscaping, and waste and recycling are running high. Other areas of facilities are not. And, you know, we are sort of captive to the weather for a lot of those things, and waste and recycling, just we may have to look at. Slightly over budget in programming and planning, but well, really not. I mean, right around budget, because we're at 77%, and programming is about 75%, which we knew would start going up. We said that at our last meeting. Professional services are very close to budgeted amount, but that covers, we've had the QuickBooks consultant, we've had some web speed consultants, we've had the auditor. So we've had a lot of our expenses for the year already. Operations are right on budget at 76.7%. Expect we'll probably finish the year at or under budget in those categories. Personnel is a little bit above budget. It's at 80.6, and that really is just a reflection of the date. It's because when we ran the reports today, we captured the 21st payroll of the year, which normally we would probably have been seeing in next month's budget.
So we had to typically, when we run the P&L every month, it's the same time every month. And the way you calculate the percentage of the year over is how many payrolls. But this time we kept with the typical month, because everything else is with the typical month. So it's 20 payrolls, but if you calculate 21 payrolls, then we would be at 81% of the year.
Right, which is where we are. Right, so it'll what else I'm saying, it'll even out next month. It's just a more of a reflection of just the date that we ran this report. And that's what I had on the P&L. Does anybody have any questions about the P&L?
Straightforward.
Okay, then we'll go on to the balance sheet. And as Michael mentioned, hold on, I have to use this paper. Just gonna get rid of a few. Okay, on the balance sheet. Had one, it's around here somewhere, but the balance sheet, you know, we had $405,000 in expenditures in the last 3 months. And so when you look at where we are in the balance sheet, we're down, you know, over 443,000 since our July report on current assets. That's because, and this is Katie, we received the bulk of our income in the winter, early spring. It's our tax-based money from East Greenbush and Skodak, and we basically just spend it down through the year. So that's why we see drops in our current assets to reflect our operating expenses for the library. So it's all where we would expect it to be. Totally. Our total current assets are 1.71 million, and total assets 4.13 million. No change to fixed assets depreciation. That is something to look at. Any questions on the balance sheet?
Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials as presented.
I'll make it.
Mary. Amy seconds. Okay. I don't believe we've ever gone through the financials as quickly as that after everything you went through.
It's, yeah, there you go.
Anything else for Lynn regarding finance at this time? Joe, do you have anything you want to add? No?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say that Jill did make a presentation to the Skodak board on our 2022. We have not heard back.
I had that listed for me as a question later. Have we heard any feedback?
Several of us were there. It was Castleton, Nassau, and the East Greenbush Libraries making their presentation to the town board of Skodak in advance of their budget negotiations.
Okay, then let's move on to committee reports. First one, admin committee. Bob?
Okay, in your packet, I have two admin committee reports, one for September and one for October. September 1st. Our September admin meeting was held on Thursday, September 2nd. All members of the committee, myself, Michael, Lynn, and Amanda, as well as Jen, still were in attendance. We discussed the election. Jill gave us a reminder about the upcoming budget and trustee vote. Obviously, we know how that turned out. The budget was passed, and both Amanda and Katie were elected. We also discussed changing our bylaws to require that write-in candidates receive a minimum of 2% or 25 votes to be eligible to serve on the board of trustees. And Lynn is going to contact Upper Hudson Library System to get a legal opinion on that.
Very good.
It's fine. It's not a crisis thing. Now we've got a
Yeah,
year to go before our next election. So then we discuss COVID safety protocols. Bill is recommending that we reinstate a mask mandate for anyone, patrons, staff, or visitors entering the building. The admin committee was in agreement on that step, and as you know, we have adopted that. Discussed our insurance program. We reviewed our recent insurance renewal. Discussed the possibility of adding additional coverages such as directors and officers liability, computer crime and fraudulent funds, pandemic coverage, and employee benefits. Jill is going to contact our insurance broker to get quotes on these coverages, and as you see in the October meeting, she has been in contact with our broker at Rose and Kiernan. And I had offered to, I spent 40 years in the insurance business, and I offered to review our insurance program. Just a few days after we had our admin meeting, Michael and I both left for a month away in South Carolina. So I actually brought the papers with me, but between the Bloody Marys and going to the beach, it didn't happen. So I'll get that done for this meeting. We discussed replacing a broken heat pump, and the board authorized Jill to proceed with fixing or replacing the heat pump for an estimated cost of $4,400.
Which we did. And
Has that been done?
ordered. It's been ordered. It's 11 weeks from the time of the order. So it'll be, I can't remember off the top of my head, but sometime in January.
we paid for some part.
Hmm?
I think we paid for some part of it already. Or maybe that was a different.
that
deal.
was
That was
some
a show.
other-
Forget what it's.
So the heat pump was ordered, is that what you just said? Okay.
And lastly, we discussed the construction grant project. One quote had been received for the dividing door for the large meeting room. And the committee authorized Jill to hire the firm that provided the quote to begin that part of the project. We also discussed changing our purchasing policy to conform with New York State bid requirements. Oh, okay. So any questions about the admin, September admin meeting?
Can I just ask that in the report, it says the July meeting was held in September. Should that be the September?
Yeah, it should be September. I cut and pasted the first paragraph.
Okay, no problem. I just didn't know.
Good delay.
Okay, then October, actually, you're gonna see that October is very similar to the September meeting. We got back, Michael and I got back from our trip, and so a lot of it was just catching up on things that had transpired in that period of time. But so we met on Friday, October 15th. In attendance for myself, Jill, Michael, Lynn. Amanda was excused because she had work commitments. And we had another update on the sliding door, which has been ordered and is expected to arrive around Thanksgiving, at which time we'll proceed with the installation.
That's for this room?
No,
No.
next door.
Oh, next door.
Replace the one that's there.
Oh, okay.
What does that mean installation will begin? Is there a company that's doing it or is, oh,
Yeah,
so the company's hired as well? It's the door being ordered?
yeah, it's all, you buy it basically installed,
Mm.
so.
It'll take about a week.
And we're shifting from the manual to the motorized. So there'll be some electrical that needs to be done, so.
This is part of the New York State construction grant.
Good.
Oh,
That's nice.
And we discussed, again, we discussed the insurance program. Jill has been in contact with Brian Cook at Rose and Kiernan, and we're expecting to receive some quotes on those coverages. We also discussed the recent minimum wage increase to $13.26 an hour in upstate New York. This change will apply to 5 part-time librarians or library clerks and 2 part-time maintenance workers. We're recommending that we adopt the new rate at the end of the year in accordance with New York State law. And it's going to have a very insignificant impact on our 2022 budget. And kind of,
I think on that one, we should say that the rate actually, I believe, is $13.25. And that goes into effect, and we had already planned on raises for them that would get them, and I think it's just by chance, they're $13.20 for next year. So it really is within our budget.
The impact is that those state law changes on 12/31 and our budget doesn't take effect till the next day.
The next day.
So we have to do it in advance or basically give the 2022 rate a few days to a week before, depending on how the payroll falls.
We'll do the last payroll of the year.
so the minimum wage changed, but we were gonna give them raises beyond.
As part of our budgeting process, we planned for raises, and so it meshes
I
for,
don't know, as they were beyond the minimum wage.
Oh,
It will be beyond, right? The raise that they get will put them above the minimum wage by a little bit.
a
Slightly.
penny.
And then kind of as a offshoot to the discussion about the minimum wage, we also discussed the need to do a comprehensive compensation and salary study to determine, whether we're competitive with other libraries in the area and whether we can remain competitive and be able to retain good employees while still staying within the tax cap. And my recollection is that Lynn and Jill are going to work on that.
The key is that that needs to be completed before budgeting begins next year in March. Okay,
That's it for my end.
okay, anybody have any questions for Bob? These are not reports that we approve. Unless they have some, unless the committees have something that needs board approval. Okay, service committee without Shay.
There's any, I mean, the report's in here.
Yeah. I have an update about the little free library.
Okay,
Jill, did you want to say anything prior to, about anything? All right. I did speak with Jamie Tedeschi this afternoon. He's definitely on board. He's going to get started building one unless we want two. He said it's just as easy for him to build two as it is to build one structure. I told him that we would do everything on our end. He didn't have to worry about, you know, where it was going to be placed or, you know, the insurance and the town and blah, blah, blah. Like that was all on us to have all of those ducks in a row. He is going to paint one of the structures to look like the little red barn on the town park. And he wanted to know if, and it doesn't have to be decided tonight or anything. If we wanted the two structures to look the same, because they're not going to be next to each other. I mean, one's going to be over here, one's going to be over there. Or do we want them to be two different, you know, two different? He's going to purchase everything. He said the price of lumber has come down. So what he thought was going to be $300 to $400 is now closer to $200 to $300. You know, something that's lower, which I thought was great.
is that for two?
One each. I think it's, I thought could be, I'll clarify.
Yeah, I thought we always were talking two.
I thought we wanted one like town hall.
One on that side of Route.
And then-
4, one on the other side.
Yes,
You know, separated by.
just want to make sure. Just trying to think what else. We were both driving. Oh, so he's leaving very soon for a week vacation, but he said he's going to send a drawing, what it's going to look like. I'll send it to everyone
Okay,
within the next like couple of day or two. And he said it won't be a blueprint, but it'll be a little, you know, a rendering of what it would look like. And he said he thinks we could get it in the ground by the middle of November.
Wow.
I know, I think it could be really
mhm,
a great,
Well, if you want my opinion, I mean, I'm a big believer in look and feel, and I think if we have two, we should have them look alike. Because then
Okay.
it has more identity, like that they're both by the same group.
okay, all
We'll
right,
begin to recognize it.
yeah,
My
and it's
opinion.
it's town. You know,
It looks
that's
like something in the town.
being, the Red Barn. I think it's cute. Do you know, you've been to the town park?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it'll be, you know, the little
Oh,
the
perfect.
little free,
Brown roof.
these little, you know, I call them what you find by happenstance, like, oh, you're on a trail, or oh, you're on a
Yeah.
street, or in a cul-de-sac, like some communities, you know, streets have them like on a street, and they're just, you know, neighbors drop off books and they just keep magically getting
Yeah, I love
replenished.
it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on my friends' streets and here and there. I talked to him a little bit about my thought about, it didn't really matter on the trail. That's my vote. That I wanted someone to try to, not try, but to come up on this structure like by happenstance, like, oh, even though I'm on a bike or I'm walking, I just so happened to come on this and find this cute little structure. that I didn't necessarily want it to be where I'm going to the Little Free Library, so I'm gonna drive, park, walk, get the book and come back. Like, we have that, and that's our library. So he sees both, you know, and he says, I don't, you know, I'm not gonna weigh in, it doesn't matter what I think, you know, it's just my opinion, but he said, you know, if people are biking and they want to get a book. I mean, I saw his point, like, now they're biking, now they're struggling with a book, they're trying to, you know, so.
Well, the other thing is if we do have to restock it, it should be pretty accessible to whoever's.
They're lugging.
Do a read.
Lugging the bag with the books. I know.
Well, and if it was placed by one of the parking areas, then you as the rider could potentially
True.
place it into your car or to restock
And
it
then,
or.
yeah, it would be easy.
Or you could intend to come back, like, oh, I saw
Right.
this and it's really cool, and now it's not a good time for me, but I'm gonna come back on foot tomorrow or.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So, I think that's great.
Yeah, I think
So I would communicate, we're gonna do this.
we're gonna do two. Okay. Two of the same little.
We had, ironically, we had a wonderful small donation, but really lovely donation from a community member who has one of these structures in their own, on their own property. And they have something on the side of their own little free library that says library donations. And so they gave us a check for money that came and was donated to their.
That is so
little free
nice.
library.
I wonder if it's the one out by us. You know the one out by us? Have you seen it?
Down best.
Yeah, down
Yes.
that's a little further than you.
It's
Across
big.
from
It's,
Trader.
it's a good size.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's open doors and walk in.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's cute.
Saunders,
Mhm.
Susan Saunders.
Is that her name?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's the same.
I don't know if it's the same one. I'll look at the mailbox.
That's awesome. So he said he would just keep receipts. I asked him if
Okay.
he need any upfront money, and he said, no, don't worry about it. He seems just as excited too, so it's great. So thank you for that. That was a great connection. It's really perfect.
And did we decide that the funds are coming from the library?
Library.
Yeah.
What budget line would we be going into?
What's that?
What budget line, if the funds are coming from the library, where we take the
We'll
money?
figure that out. This is the first, I thought ultimately it would come from the Friends or something.
That was, yeah, that was
Or
my
even
Oh.
understanding. when we discussed it.
With his friends?
Or
I thought-
donation or something.
maybe
So,
gifts and
I thought
grants,
Jill-
maybe gifts and grants. That would be a good use of gift and grant money.
Mhm.
Wouldn't there be a gift and grant line?
The other question I have is, does it make sense to proceed like right now with it? Because we're getting into the winter time. I think that the
True.
trail is going to be, used sparingly, in the cold weather.
Even if it's ready, we can launch it in the spring. We can prepare and, really prepare our marketing. campaign.
That's yeah,
And perhaps over the holidays, we could raise money for it even.
right.
What happened with the trail itself when they opened, I think it was right
It
before,
would be nice if it,
right before the winter, and then they did a bigger launch.
Charlie, I can't hear you.
I
yeah,
said with the fall, with the trail itself, I think that's what happened. It finished right before the winter, and I think they did another like ribbon cutting after the
Oh,
snow or
that's
something. I
right.
think the timing was right.
I think that's all.
okay. Anything else for service?
I think Shay had everything in the report and all that.
Mhm.
did you hear anything back from the county?
I haven't sent them the letter yet.
Oh,
Make the changes from
probably.
the edit set.
Oh, okay, yeah, it says the decision is December. Okay.
Okay, then let's move on. Director's report. Jill?
So you have in your director's report, you had an additional addendum, summer reading write-up in there. And also in your director's report, at the end of it should be a tech report.
Yes,
Is that in there?
that was there.
Okay. Okay, so we have several months in this report, and I made a decision to try to give you some data quarterly so that we can try to look at things over time instead of do what I usually do, which is identify all of our programs for each month and then really focus in on each month. At the end of the year, what I will do is list every program we've had for the year so that you do have a documented list of every single program that the library provided and how many people attended the program, whether it was virtual or in person. We had a very busy summer with programming as programming got back into in-person programming, went into motion this summer. Just to give you a sense, 726 people participated in our summer reading program. 402 kids, 131 teens, 174 adults, and 19 staff members. Read over 9,528 books.
Oh, my gosh.
Completed 15,675 activities. And contributed 421 book reviews, which I just think is really, really exciting. So even though we didn't have as many people gathering together at once with some of these larger programs, we had some real quality participation in what they were doing. Just shy of 2,000 take and make crafts and 86 events this summer. So that's kind of summer reading in a nutshell. Make sure I'm not missing anything I wanted to share with you. I'm going to go over some of the statistics that I put together in here for you. We did change our opening hours for the fall. So we had our summer hours where we changed them a little bit, and then in the fall we extended our hours. I am keeping a close eye on that because you will see we were open in fall. So in July, we were open 145 hours. In July, we were open 198 hours, in August, 200 hours, and then September, 237 hours. However, our September visitors went down, even though we were open more hours. Now, on one hand, that makes sense because we always have more people visiting the library in the summer than we do in the fall. On the other hand, anecdotally, with what we're experiencing in the library, we were hoping that we would see new people that we hadn't seen before coming into the library in the evenings and on Sunday hours, because we're on Sundays now, and Friday night families, and we haven't seen that increase that we were hoping for. And so I think we need to keep a close eye on that.
I think it's just gonna take time.
It's gonna take, I mean, COVID is having when we extended our hours, it was before the Delta variant.
I was at that training just this evening, which was excellent, by the way. And
I did too.
one of the chats was about libraries saying our numbers are still really low. Our numbers are still really low. What can we as trustees do because the numbers are really low? And actually, they didn't really address that. They didn't bring it up at all. But it was interesting to see that it made me feel a little more encouraged that it may just take a lot of time, you know, as people are just really adjusting. I mean, this is the first time people have been in school a lot for about a year and a half, and, you know, getting used to the routine. But it just was somewhat encouraging to me that it was more of a universe. It seemed to be a comment that was echoed by a number of people, that their numbers are slow and they thought they would be higher.
See, I think it's gonna take a long time because it's gonna take new growth to get back to the numbers we were at. You created a virtual library. People got used to that. And I think there's a significant element that that's how they're gonna use the library.
Yeah, we're looking at the data, so much has changed, the landscape and how people are doing everything right now. So all of our previous things that we just knew about the community are kind of out the window and we're learning. And there's so many of, we all have pretty good ideas about what's gonna happen. We think we know what's gonna happen, but until we really look at the data and figure out, okay, can we connect our circulation data with the library card data, with the number of people attending these programs, what kinds of things are cardholders of this demographic interested in? What is encouraging people? So I'll give you an example. We have approximately the same number of new library card holders every month now that we did before, but we have less overall card holders. So to me, that tells me that there aren't as many active card holders. So what's the gap? Where are we missing them? And, we have, I think, a pretty good sense that typically we have hundreds of kids in the library, and that starts the community, the demographic and how often people use the library and the library cards. Well, now we may not have as many kids and families coming in as a family, and every kid has to have their own card. And, it might now be, okay, mom comes in or grandma comes in or dad and picks out books for kids because they don't want to be exposed and be in large groups. So they're perhaps using us differently. And also our preschool story times, we were holding those and getting, we were holding for over 4 story times a week, twice a day. And we were cycling through hundreds of kids in our story times that they're just not coming in for that anymore. We're still having great turnouts for story times, but there's still a demographic that we're missing of new people that are consistently using the library.
And I mean, think about, just go back a couple of years, how much public meetings brought people in too.
That's huge.
And we don't have public meetings.
Right.
And that brought in, these rooms were constantly in use. And that brought in, not just, I know the kids programs were huge numbers, but those other programs brought in tons of people too. And, so.
Yep.
until
And
we get to that.
tutoring and day hab groups, and there's a lot of, we're seeing individual use of the library very similar, but the group aspect, use of the library has shifted and changed. And there are some people that are using us only virtually and some people only in person, but a lot of them are hybrid. And so it is definitely different. But there's a lot of stats in here for you to look at. In terms of, I broke it down by quarter so that you can see how things are shifting. It's really hard to compare month to month. It's not statistically too valid anyways when you're taking such small.
I was interested to see how much the drive-through windows
Has dropped off.
Has dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that would stay forever, but.
Oh, I think it will.
Will, for some, but
Yeah.
and I saw how you said now sometimes on the evening hours, they're actually just buzzing. What it was always there.
It was always buzzed before entry, but we had very few people. We had maybe 30, 35, at most 50 for a month. And now we're still over. I can't remember the exact numbers.
Well, it was.
But it's over.
Drive-through,
The drive-through. and
4 visits an hour open, like 2,700 in the last quarter.
971 visits in August through the drive-through window. 1,045 in July. And 756 in September, so it is.
So why is it then, so the checkouts are different than the drive-through? I don't know.
Well, the drive-through is visits to the drive-through. I assume checkouts is how many books go out.
Yes. So the number of cars that come up. We're not counting how many people are in the cars. We're just counting the number of vehicles that come up as one visit through the drive-through.
And it's the the other is circulation, right?
And the other is circulation. So now we have two locations that we are collecting circulation data, 2 locations that you can choose to pick up your holds at. And some people choose, they are still choosing the drive-through, and some people are choosing inside the library.
And I just personally, when my stuff comes up, it says to pick it up at the drive-through. So, and I never picked one or the other, so I just wondered, is that,
Well, it's when you make the reserve, that's when you make the choice.
It actually, it's a default, because I found I'm always
yeah,
mixed up. And they always say, oh, well, and I said, no, I'll go out, drive through, but she changed it in my record. Like that you can
Profile or
go to the
something?
circ desk and they can make it what you want it to default to. And it must, I don't know how yours got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know how mine did either, but she changed mine because I'm always in here. So I said, well, just make it the desk.
but it's just something worth knowing, because if it defaults for a lot of people to go through the drive-through, people may come into the circ desk, but they just don't because
And my
they're told to pick it up at the drive.
So that sounds like something that perhaps we could do another PR campaign for.
I
At the time that we put it in place, we were only offering drive-through hold pickup. So in order to add the circulation location back in, we defaulted to the drive-through window, everybody. And we, in the marketing, put that you can choose to change it to the circulation desk, but I think enough has shifted
I
and
never
changed
caught
that we
it
could do
until-
another. We could do another PR campaign for that, absolutely. That's
Because maybe
really
it
good
might
idea.
end up bringing more people in, because they'll get
Yeah, that's a good
comfortable
idea.
coming into the circ desk and then realize, oh, it's
I'm here, I'll do
Yeah.
that. Take out these other books.
so.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what that does.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah,
changes
I
the
think it would be
usage
a-
pattern
Yeah.
at all. That's a really good. Just make sure I'm not missing anything else. September was library card sign up month, and just because library card sign up month is in September, doesn't mean that that's the only time that we focus on library card signups. It was fun, and kids got a little goodie bag, and they got to put their name up or have a picture taken and put their name up on the plan in the children's room with their first library card. But we are focusing internally, we're talking a lot about marketing and focusing on new library card holders, and then also how do we retain card holders? So what do we do in these first 3 months to retain those card holders so that they continue to come back and don't forget about us, and so it becomes a habit. And so that's one of the things that we're starting to focus more on now. We had a big focus of 2021 has been readers advisory, trying to really target individual connect individual interests to readers, kind of like concierge reading services. So we've done the book bundles and adult services, readers advisory form that you can fill out. And there's all these different services that we created, and we're still doing that. And that I think was very apparent in our summer reading program when we had 421 book reviews submitted that we really did capitalize on or make it a priority for people to actually read and connect people with books. And we're still doing that, but we are focusing a lot on cardholders now because we're noticing some of that. So that'll be a big priority, even as we're shifting to our strategic planning to really look at usage patterns and what's happening and how do we make sure that we're, as the population changes and people age out of children's programming and new people are coming up, that is typically how people are coming into the library is as kids, how to make sure we're capturing them. We also, before the pandemic, and we've been talking about doing that again, we put together welcome packets for new homeowners. So we partner with a town in East Greenbush, and the assessor's office sends us a list of every new property purchased in the town, and we look at that list and check the list against our database of users, and anybody that doesn't have a library card, we have a packet we send out to them. So we've started talking about, okay, it's time to do that again. To make sure that we're sending out targeted mailings to new members of the community, as well as all those things.
Can you do that with Skoda?
We sometimes get the list from them. Yes, we do have a connection with them. There's a lot fewer people moving in and out, so it's pretty easy to manage.
Do you, when you say new residents, typically are you talking about houses?
It's only property. So it's the assessor's office, so it's only any kind of property
So-
changes.
So you're not getting any apartment complexes or anything like that?
That's a whole nother thing, opportunity for us to work with real estate agents and work with, we have complexes. We have sent out our packets to different real estate agents in town, but we haven't developed enough of a partnership yet where we're continually giving them packets and so that they can give them to people like the renters that they're representing renter or the apartment complexes. No, we are going to the town of Skodak and the town hall in Skodak and town hall in East Greenwich to give updated information regularly to them to make sure that they have information about what's happening in the library. Everybody is receiving our printed newsletter 6 times a year now. Yeah, but there's always more that can be done. You can never do too much marketing because you have to tell somebody something over and over and over because you can only hold so much in your brain that you can say it 15 times and they may only hear it once or twice. So it's good for you guys to tell us what you don't know because you are hearing so much from us, both in, hopefully you're all reading the weekly newsletter and the print newsletter, and you're getting all the committee reports and everything. So if you're unclear about something, chances are there are plenty of other people that are also unclear. So definitely let me know.
Jill, do you have marketing material at the Y too?
I don't know how up to date that is. I will have to double check with Susan. I know we are pretty connected with them and we meet with them regularly, but I'm not sure.
Thinking like Michael was saying, apartment dwellers, maybe a lot of them might use the Y.
We could very well have stuff over there, but I can't say yes or no because I don't know. We have various people on staff who just go around regularly, just kind of on their own time when they're, and drop things off. And I will have to double check with Susan if how regularly she updates the stuff at the Y.
Okay.
Were there any questions about the director's report, the written director?
My only question I had was, did we hear anything from SCODAC. So. And we haven't, so. Because they should be into it at this point where they. You know, where they're doing their initial discussions.
They are right in the middle of it, but I haven't. One other quick thing that I forgot to tell you that we've been doing, and I think we talked about this in the service committee too, but we've been doing more outreach, and we've been looking at bringing our programming offsite and seeing what happens there. What we've done is we've done programming at the town park that's been very successful with a different demographic. So we've done story times out there that have been really successful. Youth services programming in the library, we're playing it day by day with what winter is going to look like with our programming. So it's a whole different demographic.
So a question, when you do a program at the town park, do you record who's there? Do you get a breakdown that you know, are they library card holders? Are they users?
We have people register in advance,
Mhm.
so we do know who's coming. But there are some people that inadvertently show up, and we're trying to capture that. We've been talking about that. I'm not sure how well that's
Is there a way,
happening.
at most of the programs, you don't scan library cards or something like that?
No,
Just
But-
to, just that would quickly do the record keeping, like now you scan everything and you just had a scanner and you could scan everybody as they come into the program, okay?
no, what they are doing in a very non-techy way is saying, raise your hand, who here has a library card, and have you been to the library before? Okay, and then lots of people are raising their hand, but they also can kind of tailor what they're talking about to the audience in that way. So if there's a lot of people, or anybody that doesn't have a library card, then you can do a little promo for the library. Oh, come to the library, it's free, you can get a card, all ages, and these are some of the things that we have happening. And our staff is really good at doing that, at programming, trying to, don't forget to come into the library. Don't forget we're open now. We're open Friday nights, and we're open on the weekends, and because our hours have changed. Not everybody is thinking about us being open like we were before, extended hours. We're kind of used to this extended. The library is only open a limited number of hours. So it's going to take some time for that to daily travels. But there's still more work that can be done with capturing data. I sat in on an incredible webinar with a company that's trying to sell us a product all about some of the data that can be captured that we can target. It might be something we will talk about with strategic planning, whether it's something that we might consider doing, because you can really capture look at some of the trends based on how people are using it, using mapping data. And you can target non-users too, and actually pull out addresses that don't have cards and do some targeted links too to non-users, which would be really fabulous, because right now we don't have that level of we just don't have that ability to do that right now. And so we supplement that by sending out newsletters to everybody. But being able to target your audience is very different. When you would say to somebody who's not using the library is very different than is using the library.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
We'll move on. Anybody have any other questions for Jill on director? Aye. Then let's move on to the personnel memorandum. That was the last page on the Jill, you want to take us through that?
So we have a resignation. Actually, Rachel is we have a resignation of a part-time library clerk who has not worked for us since pre-COVID. She works for the Department of Health also. And we've kept her on, hoping that her job there would be able to lighten up, and it hasn't. So she has submitted her resignation, and that was effective September 1st. We also have a resignation of a substitute librarian that we put back on in May. And you'll see we added some, you recall that we added our subs back to our list. And remember, we talked about that in a board meeting, but it never actually made it to a board packet because they weren't officially they never officially resigned, but because we took them off the payroll, we thought it was good to do this and retroactively approve them, so that we have accurate records of when we took them off payroll and when they were put on payroll. So those are in the appointment memo here, our substitute librarians. Also our summer reading assistant. Every year we have that temporary summer reading assistant seasonal appointments, so that is in here as well. We have a part-time library clerk that is now moved to substitute status and no longer wants a regular shift. And we have a part-time librarian who in children's and youth services that was able to get a full-time position as a librarian. And so she is also just substitute status. So that brings us, now we have, even though we filled a youth services librarian position, we still have 2 youth services library positions open because we had one open before. We also have provisional appointment of 2 part-time library clerks. So we filled all the library clerk positions at this point. We still have not filled the senior library clerk position. That's been empty, and we have not recruited for that since 2020. That'll be something that was needed for evening hours, and we are holding off on that right now until we determine what our winter hours will be before we hire somebody for that. We also have, I think last month, there was Donna Riley, our newest children's librarian, was on not last month, but our last personnel memo. So I'm just going to keep listing the unfilled positions at the bottom, just so you have a running list of what's out there. And we're not filling everything unless we need it. So the part-time children's librarian position will be posted, but we haven't done that yet. We're trying to, now that things are pretty slow, we're going to hold off until we have a better idea of what the schedules are and what the needs are, and we're going to work with our staff now to do that. We're going to do the best we can to do that.
So are the library 1 positions that are unfilled, are those the 2 services?
Those are youth services librarians. And what we are doing is sometimes in the evenings, there won't be 2 librarians here. There will be either a youth services or an adult services librarian. It's really slow here. Sometimes it seems like it's just unnecessary to have somebody staff up the building. Even though you hate to not be able to give the kind of reference service that people maybe are used to and expecting when they come in. And so that's the trade-off that we're always trying to figure out, is this a good idea or a bad idea? But we're testing it out because it does seem like we're open a lot.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
You made it last time, so you can make it again.
There you go.
Second, Cammy. Anybody have any more comments or questions? If not, all in favor? Everybody, nobody's. Okay. Takes care of that. Under old business, the only things I had sort of put in, one was the grant. You've given a little update. We know the one thing, so things are in motion. The key to know with that is that we got to be done by next June, I believe, is the deadline, with everything, payments reconciled and all of that. And we have not gone after any new grants in the current grant cycle. So it's something I think we may want to think about for next year, prepare for the next grants. There's a grant cycle every year.
So that starts in June, the next grant cycle?
No, there's the grant cycle that starts in June. We didn't do one for last year, and we didn't do this year. This really goes back before that. You apply in June.
Apply
I think this
in
was 19
August.
August.
You apply in August. You start applying in August, and the application with everything in it is due September 1, usually September 1. But it will retroactively could start June 30th.
Okay.
Work is essentially for each grant cycle. So this is the 20, we're working on for the 2019.
Yeah, the 2019, that's what I
And
recall.
that, that was put on hold with COVID. But it's a very significant grant. And so had that been done last year and this year, it would have been done now, and we would have moved forward with the next grant cycle. Typically, the grants that we put in are smaller too. This one, there's a lot of moving parts, so we're going to finish this up before we put it in.
So that would begin in June of 2022 or August of 2022, the discussion.
August of 2022, we could put in the application for the next one, which could include work that started in June.
Okay.
But if you do something like that, you're making a gamble because you may or may not get it.
Right.
Right.
The other item I have is under old business is it's time we start strategic planning. And I just want to keep that on everybody's radar. Because we have already put it off, extended it, I think, 2 years now, right?
So 2 years, yeah,
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID, we extended and extended again. So I think we really do need to get that going.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Mine is about COVID, and I apologize if I've lost my way here, but what is the condition on which we will open meetings to the public? I mean, I just can't remember.
low transmission rate.
Is it being
It's
evaluated
tied
every
to,
month?
it's tied to the CDC, what it's tied to. So actually, we updated this on September 7th. And we tied everything during our committee meetings to what the CDC county trackers are. And I'll give you a couple of reasons for this. A big part of it is capacity. So right now, we're using that team space, and I have some pictures from today, which it was so fun. They're in there right now, and they are spread out everywhere, and they are doing work, and it's really wonderful. But they are using that space because it's better than small confined team room for them, which they had already outgrown pre-COVID, but safety wise. And there's just not enough space for us to do our programming with community groups using the library. And there's enough, even though it's slow, that impacts, it's different because there's still a lot of operational stuff that happens no matter how many people are through the door. And that's happening no matter what. And that's why we look at hours and whether it makes sense to stay open, because we could be doing other things that may have a greater impact, like when you're doing the outreach and meeting people at where they are versus just opening hours if they're not coming in. So that is one of the pieces there. The other piece is, you may remember that we had approved a new meeting room policy where we were moving to allow outside groups who are non-residents or residents to use the meeting rooms, to borrow the meeting rooms, what they would, for a fee. So basically you could, if the meetings were not being held by an organization, a nonprofit organization that was, of interest to everybody or a lot of people in the community for free, somebody who didn't live in the community could borrow a meeting room for a fee. And this was one of the ways that we talked about bringing in new sources of revenue when the rooms were not in use, or residents who wanted to hold a baby shower or different kinds of things, they could do that and have a private event in our meeting room space. That was all before COVID happened, but we're deep in that planning process. And so because nobody has been in here so long, we're transitioning to that. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens that's occurring to make that happen. And so that's one of the things that we can continue, we can bring this up at the November service committee meeting so we can talk more about this.
Because I'm just trying to get my head up, because I thought it was really based on COVID transmission rates and what
It
all
is.
those things you're saying are COVID, they have nothing to do with COVID transmission. So I'm just asked, I sent you an email about a nonprofit that misses meeting here.
Everybody wants.
Everybody wants to meet here, but the point is, I have to admit, I'm not clear when will this happen? I don't know.
We don't know when it will happen. Once we get into the blue low transmission. We can change this as a group, but that's what our reopening plan from the beginning had meeting rooms not until COVID was no longer happening. And we talked about all of it being based on safety and being based on capacity.
Right.
Because there's a lot of,
We said that a year ago, and COVID is a very different picture today.
Right.
I think,
it does.
we've learned a lot.
But I actually think that, I think that would be a good thing to communicate to the public. After maybe it goes to service committee, it's just to because if people are asking you or others, they're wondering, and it's probably, just explaining, this is why, and this is, we will keep you posted, but it's not gonna happen soon or something.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I agree, and there's a lot of that conversation that's happening. There are a lot of people who want to use us very differently. And some of those things may be things that we can consider. And it's not, none of it's off the table. I think it's for the service committee to discuss which things are a priority. And then we can bring it to the full board to talk about safety wise, whether we want to adjust it, our COVID plan.
And it kind of brings
But
up the
it
need
comes
for
at a,
strategic
you know,
plan.
with one thing,
To me, this is all part of a strategic plan.
something else has to give.
I mean, if the demand is so great,
capacity-wise.
you start the strategic plan, you start talking facility,
Right.
facility capability and
Needs.
And we fill our staffing positions that were leaving empty, and those are things that we can do if we want to bring in some services too. They're definitely options. So,
anybody else have anything under old business? If not, let's go to the patiently waiting liaison reports. Start with the Friends.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Good afternoon. For Friends, this is the last meeting of the board. We had the summer book sale outside that went really well, pretty well attended. Had good weather that day. Donations have been coming in steadily, so that's good. We have a sorter teams are in there working hard to sort all the boxes in the shed. In the September meeting, we found and installed a new VP, Erin. She could be here tonight, but so we're very excited to have someone else in the leadership mix.
Who is it, Charlie?
Erin, CAD. And the get out the vote effort for the budget vote. We did a series of emails to rally Friends members to participate and vote. And then we have a November book sale coming up the weekend of the 5th. Gonna be inside, socially distanced to make it work with the space. Julianne's been working with Susan to hammer out all the details. So looking forward to getting a book sale up and going to get folks back in the thinking of a fall book sale. We know they're loved and well attended. We're working with Jill to set up the Better World Books account for offloading some of the books as we kind of take them in and sort through books. So there's another outlet to generate revenue and sustainably recycle books as they come in that we can't find a home for through sales.
You're looking for a new resource, is that what you said?
Well, we have Better World Books, so Jill got us connected to use that as a platform to offload some of the books that don't find homes through the sales.
And they're also gonna help us with some of our de-accession books to get them into Better World Books.
And are you now accepting books from everybody?
It is open to take in.
Anybody, anytime, back the old way?
All of those blue bins,
Those blue bins fill up periodically. Yeah.
very regular.
Yeah, very good.
As Julianne knows, well, you've been in here too.
Yeah, so as they sort through and then the carts fill up, it's kind of there's a nice cycle to it for the course of the week.
Good.
We're preparing for November. It hasn't gone live yet, but there will be a time in November, most likely November through the end of December, where the Friends will not be taking donations. And I know that's gonna be a huge challenge in the community because they love the donations. So one of the things that we were throwing, as we put this on our staff intranet, one of the things we were throwing around was, well, maybe we could also market like a big donation day after the new year, where like a clean out donation day. So at the same time, we're marketing, no donations won't be accepted here, but save everything, because of a big donation day or something like that. It might be a good way to spin it. That would, not frustrate people. They would understand that. It's been so fun. There's a whole lot of energy right now with the Friends group.
Great.
Good.
A lot of people, staff are excited about it too.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Charlie? Okay, Holly,
Thank you.
Tom?
So this is in no particular order. of significance or anything. I just have a list of things. But I do know that our rec director, Mike, has been working with Molly. And we did have story time scheduled at the town park.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think tomorrow is the last one.
yep, it's been awesome.
It has been.
It's been really
We had story time at town park like tomorrow. I think it's from 10 to 11. It's one of the,
now. It's been really.
yeah,
good.
it's been really successful. We'll continue that.
And we would love to, continue doing that.
Yeah.
We're still doing a lot of outdoor programming here.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mike and our rec director, Mike and Molly have good
They've been working
Hook up
closely
now.
with that. Yep. it's been great.
together. So we have other Halloween events scheduled for this month. Putting our own trick or treat at the town hall for kids 6 and under, which we didn't have last year. We are gonna still do the trunk or treat, which is at the town park, which is on the 30th from 4 to 8. We had it last year, and it was really successful. People come and decorate their trunks. There's candy, kids and families are dressed up and go around the circle. It was kind of cool. So that's also happening. We also have like a spooky story and s'mores night scheduled. Which is something to maybe collaborate with you guys on another time.
We're actually coming to that.
Yeah, okay, good.
When is that?
I believe it's the 25th. I didn't write the date down, but off the top of my head,
That's Monday night?
I'm not sure.
Sorry, just,
I-
don't
it's,
go by.
yeah, there's no sign up required.
It's the spooky story.
Spooky
night.
story and s'mores night.
Oh.
It's at the Red Barn, yeah, it's at the
Oh.
town park.
Oh,
Yeah, the only event that's not at the town park right now is for the younger children on the 29th, which is a Friday at town hall in the morning. Let's see. What else we have that's fun? We have kind of another order of business, but right now what's going on with the town board is we've been working on consolidating the sewer districts in town, not to change pace, but because our town's had 4 sewer districts, so I don't even know, I guess, as long as it's been in conception, and with unequal payments and charges for, I don't know why, but anyway, we're consolidating 4 sewer districts into 1 this month, which will really, everybody will be paying the same amount. People that are on septic. So we have to rewrite the law and as far as pass the resolution. So that's happening in November. We did the same thing with the water districts. I don't know if you guys remember, but last year we had the Hampton Manor Water District that we consolidated. So everybody was getting water from the same place and paying the same amount. And another thing that's going on right now is the side path that's been proposed for along Gilligan Road from 9 and 20 to out to Hayes. So that's been moving forward. We've been working with Capital District Transportation Committee as well as with the school district. And it is progressing and moving forward. We've been having 3 meetings with the school district now, and we've had a feasibility study done. So it's starting like where the church is on the church side and coming along. It's called a side path because there's no curb. It's not going to be a curb. It's not going to be a curbed sidewalk. But it's part of the complete streets where some people can, walk and bike on Gilligan Road with the school and the baseball field and everything. So it is going to come along from the church side through the school side, Goff Middle School, into where the parking lot for the baseball field starts, then cross and turn and go across that side of this of Gilligan Road out through the Hannaford entrance exit is out to 9 and 20 there. And hopefully that Hannaford entrance exit. Well, right now, there's no left-hand turn, but that's gonna be, this isn't like this year, this is going into 2022 and 2023. It's a lengthy process, but that's ongoing. Another thing that we have is a moratorium. We've got a public comment hearing on November 10th on, we received an application for a solar farm that is larger than what's in our current solar law. Probably aware. So right now, like our current solar laws put a cap on 2.5 acres for a solar farm application. So we had gotten an application for 8.5 acres. And which triggered, do we really want to, that size of a solar farm?
Is that
And
an
I found-
8.5 acre field with
Yes,
covered with the solar panels?
yeah. So we're gonna hold a public hearing for comments as far as,
Where is it proposed for?
it's on the, like, going out Mannix to Beth Luther Road. But no one, I mean, the applicants went in front of the zoning board to get like an area variance. But it wasn't, it triggered, what are we gonna do with this? Because it's coming into play in a lot of towns as far as large solar farms. So we're gonna we're proposing put in a moratorium on it. So we can really look at it along with the Conservation Advisory Council. Look at how, what we really want. We want large solar farms in town.
Well, and in all likelihood, the electricity won't be sold to town residents.
I don't, what are the benefits gonna be as far as financial? That's one of the things I don't.
I get the things all the time. Utilities or somebody is proposing a solar farm somewhere. And, I sign into that. And those things can be like way up in northern
Yeah.
Rensselaer County.
Right. You're
Feed
so
into the
right. You don't know if
grid, it's all-
each solar farm that's within the town borders is going to be for the people who live in town.
It'd be nice.
Right, and they,
Then I
Right.
want to consider it, I'd say, but
right. Yeah, that's a consideration.
That's November 10th.
I believe it is,
Sorry.
yes. I think that's 6. The town budget for 2022 has been finalized. The town board hasn't, formally approved it yet, but the budget for 2022 is it's in draft final form for the most part. It does include a 1.5% property tax increase. But we haven't had a property tax increase in 3 years, so 1.5 isn't too bad. There's a hazardous waste day coming up that East Greenwich Town residents can participate in. It's actually in Troy. It's on October 30th. We had our own here. I can't remember if it was July or August. We had our own hazardous waste day at our transfer station. So this is the 4th of ones that were taking place over the year with Bethlehem, East Greenwich, and Troy. Anyway, the one coming up on the 30th is in Troy. And if anyone is interested, you still have to pre-register at the rec desk, which is a kind of registration site through the town community services department. That. And we have on Veterans Day, the 11th, we do this every year, but for veterans, we have a leaf raking program. So we encourage veterans in town to call the community services office to sign up. And we have a whole bunch of volunteers that, take part in the program and do yard cleanup for veterans in town on the 11th. We had a really extensive paving project this summer as part of our infrastructure improvement. There was some delays because of rain. But we've got a lot of thousands of dollars projected into the paving project for 2022 as well. We're still waiting to see if we can use the American Recovery Act funds for that. If we can, we're gonna probably pretty much double the budget allotment for paving for 2022. And by the way, the county is picking up, it's a county road, Phillips Road. They're gonna be paving Phillips Road like starting next week. In case anyone uses Phillips. Going through, I don't know how long it's gonna take to pave it, but it's a county road with the county is starting to, they're gonna be picking that up. And we have 2 contracts that are coming, 2 union contracts. They're ending their 3-year term at the end of this year, so we're beginning contract negotiations with the police department and employees from the Department of Public Works to negotiate a new contracts for another 3-year period. And since we approved in the whole the master comprehensive plan, I know I talked to you all about it before, but this next phase of that is to review the zoning law and amend it so that it correlates with what has been written in the comp plan. So that's, we put together a steering committee and a committee of people that review the zoning law and make any amendments as necessary. So that's coming up. Oh, also the police department is having, they've had some bike safety rodeos, like really it came from, the development of the bike path. So the police department has had some bike rodeos to promote awareness with kids in town as far as bike safety. And also they also are having some car seat safety checks that are still coming up. There's 4 of them scheduled over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
What are those?
The car seat safety
car
checks
seat
around town. I don't have the dates, but that police department's been pretty active in terms of those 2 issues. And I think that's all I got.
Oh, that's quite a bit.
Worth of
No.
things.
That's quite a bit.
No.
Good. Thanks.
Did you find the date for the spooky story?
Is it the 20? I think it's,
I thought she
I
was,
feel like it's, I have to go on.
that's all right.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you were looking.
I was looking for that,
That's all right.
but
if you go on,
Just
the
let-
town website, like in the
Let us know
Community
later.
Services
Sounds fun.
Department, it should say it right.
Okay. With no Tom, we have no Rensselaer County. So Cammie, what's new at Upper Hudson?
Oh, my goodness. Let me just get out my report. Okay, so we have a new trustee. His name is Anthony Rapicki. And he was sworn in just this last meeting.
Where is he from?
Oh, my goodness. Sorry. So Gilderland?
Gilderland, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't. If Jill says Gilderland, it must be true. So I'll just do a couple little things from the executive director's report. They're working on the 2022 budget. And they received the official notice from the New York State Division of Library Development last week that their, bless you, 2022 to 26 plan of service has been approved. The Upper Hudson Racial Equity Committee is now
It used to be a task.
yes, it used to be the Anti-Racism Task Force, and now it's Racial Equity Committee.
It's an official committee.
Yeah. So they're looking, they hired a commercial real estate broker to try to get in some tenants. because they lost a tenant. Well, they're losing two. One at the end of October and one at the end of the year. So they're looking to get in a couple new tenants, for next year for rent. Construction aid, 11 construction aid applications from 10 member libraries and one from Upper Hudson that were approved for awards last month have all been processed and submitted to the New York State Division of Library Development. And there was just some nice reports from libraries, that different trustees made. But there was, the grand reopening of the expanded Gilderland Public Library. So that was a huge town event there. Everyone was waiting for that. I wasn't sure I don't know if I'm just talking. Tim went to the town of Petersburg to provide administrative support to the library, like how the town provides. So I wasn't sure about, there's something about that, but
They do consulting work for libraries, so it'll change every month. which
Oh.
Libraries they work.
oh, okay, all right, yeah. Other than that, I mean,
I think, was it Petersburg, one of those libraries out there? Oh, okay, and one of them hadn't done a long-range plan,
Yes, and we're.
and there were some issues related to that.
Who does, is that the plan of service? What is that?
So every library, they're required to submit, every system is required to submit a plan of service. They added on, this is their second year of adding on an additional year to their plan.
So who do they submit it to?
I'm pleased to report that we
They're putting
received.
it through as the exact same plan of service that they have now. There's also, and it's the plan of service for the system on how they interact with all of the libraries. It's on their website.
And so it's on the
Who
website, right?
approves it?
Division of Library Development.
Okay.
And part of the plan of service is the 90.3, how they're gonna deal with direct access. And that is something that they agreed, they were going to make some changes to that, but they did get some pretty significant feedback from us because it would impact us even more so than some of the other libraries. And it's been an issue for years that we have wanted to really change how that document is worded and created. And so there was a lot of feedback given, and they have agreed to put together a committee to look at it further. So they put it through as is.
I'm sorry, it says 90.3, what is?
90.3 is the
Is that the fee?
libraries, access to libraries, who has access to libraries, and how it is, remains fair, and what can be restricted if it becomes unfair. And they've watered it down. Since Tim's been there, I think they've watered it down twice. So our issues that we have with Skodak and North Greenbush, it's more difficult to deal with.
My spooky stories and s'mores is the 22nd.
22nd.
I just looked it up.
Spooky stories.
It said on the Facebook page that the event just got filled.
Oh, so that's this Friday night, and it's at the barn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tammy, you done?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Good. No, I have nothing else, so.
Okay, it's really, it's small, I promise. It's something fun. It's just a little speaking anecdote. So, a 7 or 8 year old boy, and this is from our head of youth services, Molly. This happened, a few days ago. So but I think it was over the weekend actually, and she posted, this is on our step internet, she posted all kinds of things. A little 7 or 8 year old boy and his mom were just in. He had a bunch of books to check out, and they were leaving the room. As they were leaving the room, the kids stopped in front of the J-pop collection, which is all the popular materials right as you walked in on the shelves. With his mom and said, I like to look at this shelf. Why? Asked mom. Because there are a lot of new books on it. He pulls out an I Survived graphic novel, shoves it in his mom's face and says, I mean, look, it is beautiful.
Aw. It's cute.
That's cute.
Why we're all here.
Right.
Oh,
Okay,
good stuff.
anybody have anything else? If not, I'll entertain the motion, or favorite motion.
I'll make it.
Lynn made it,
Tammy.
Tammy seconded it.
9:15.
Okay, thank you all.
You.
Thank you for coming, Katie.
Yeah.